Camera's rolling.
First item we have up is to approve, no, correspondence, I'm sorry, do we have any correspondence? Okay, in November.
November 13th through 16th at the Marriott in Portland, as it has been for many, many years. There is some talk about moving it in coming years out of Portland
Well, that wouldn't be centrally located.
for the people of Portland.
Okay, now we have under consent items, approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or adjustments that we're aware of?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Well, shall we go through all the consent items and have one motion? Or would you like to go through them individually? Sometimes for the minute taker, it's easier to have the consent items as one.
That's a wise idea.
Approval of minutes. We have two sets of board minutes. We have June 25th and July the 1st. Any observations or corrections noted? I have to say, under the July 1st, under election of officers, it was under duress.
You're not getting out of it.
Was there use of restraint upon it?
The new policy wasn't in effect. And then we have a recommendation on a budget committee appointment of Jim Hyatt in school district number 21. For clarification, our budget committee is comprised of certain representation, and the parties that are represented make their recommendations of who they would like to have participate. Is that accurate? So it's not a matter of whether or not someone from school district 21 should participate, but rather their recommendation is Mr. Hyatt. And then we have declaration of items surplus to remain compliant with public property laws. There's a list of items here that, with their inventory tag numbers, that are proposed to be retired. Any questions or comments on any of those four consent items?
Now I will make the motion.
Have a motion
I'll second.
made and second to approve the consent items as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. So now, let's get into the fun stuff. Board reports. Let's just start with Mr. Sharp. Start far in from where I am, closest to you. Do you have any items or notes to report?
I know nothing.
Even Sergeant Schultz.
I haven't been around this summer to even know the gossip.
Okay, well,
I can
I
tell you
guess
that.
that's fair.
Oh,
We'll catch up later. But things are otherwise no
I think they're great.
general unrest in the ranks that you're aware of?
No, I think that we had kind of a midlife crisis there for a couple of weeks, but we solved it.
Okay.
So at the school, it was minor.
Fair enough. We like that. Well, let's see, now I'll go to, do I dare say it? Go to Miss Arcularius.
Yeah. Well, would this be a good time to bring up something I was just going to talk about?
Sure.
Are there really 7 new school teachers at the high school?
Yes. Well, roughly, yeah, I couldn't say.
Now, what percentage is that? Like a third?
Oh, about the last time, my memory tells me that I had about 24, 25 licensed staff members. Some of them were part-time though. So, yeah, it's between a third.
Wow.
And how
found our
many?
math teacher.
What now?
So we found our math teacher
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Where?
2 weeks ago.
Wow.
He just appeared on the doorstep one day and wanted an interview, so.
Took a round
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah, I think so. I
Wow.
think he's coming out of Madras.
Excellent.
Leslie can chime in here, but new music, new math, new special ed,
Why is that?
just
Shop, culinary,
new shop.
culinary.
Is that because we don't have a Walmart?
It's a variety of reasons.
Definition of-
Just, there hadn't been much turnover the last few years. Of course, some might say that was because of the economy not being very good and educational agencies not hiring much. So there was some movement.
How many new teachers for the school districts?
Five.
Five?
So
Five.
12
Yeah.
altogether? That's a lot. I guess thinking will be how many will it be next year?
How many were what?
How many will be next year? Will the 12 stick around, or is it gonna be?
Hard, you know, it just
Yeah.
it ebbs and flows. You have years where you don't have any turnover, and then you have years. When I was hired here 31 years ago, I was one of 13 new teachers in the district in 1984.
Just in this end of the, just on this end.
Just on this end, yeah.
And
13.
what was the reason then?
Oh, boy.
My class
Do you
was
think I
graduating.
remember that far? My first year as high school principal here in 2005, I hired 7 new teachers. So it's not unheard of, but it's certainly kind of it's the top of the cycle, and then you hope to have a few years where you don't have that much turnover, because certainly continuity is important.
And I think the economic times are a big driving factor, especially with young new teachers that have gotten a little experience under their belt, gives them an opportunity to reach into a bigger district.
When you're hiring, particularly people out of college, you're hoping that they stay a few years.
And they go from a fast-paced life to
Yes,
Lakeview.
and then you're hoping that a certain percentage of them decide that they really like it here and stay. But I think, I forget exactly, Dale, do you know how many new teachers in Paisley
I
this year?
think we had 2 this year. I think we
Yeah,
had
I know
one
you had
in-
math science.
Yeah, I think it was 2.
Yeah. So, and, North Lake had a few, I think everybody kind of saw a little bit of an uptick in it.
Well, I think salary's such a big deal, and I mean, I know you guys pay fairly well, but when you compete some of these bigger districts, and like you said, the economic times are better, so other districts are hiring, and you lost a couple because of that. You can make a hell of a lot more doing just over county line.
And it isn't unique to education, because if you look at the hospital, if you look at the federal government, if you look at the turnover that happens within those, state highway department.
Location.
Yeah, with the economic
But
times.
if you're young, single out of college, you come to Lakeview, let's face it, it's not the social mecca of western United States, so I'm sorry to break that to you. So,
But the
Graduated
13
from here, he
that
doesn't know.
started here in '84, Mrs. Lasley and I are the only 2 that were here 10 years later.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Of the
Wow.
seven that I hired my first year as principal, '05, Ruth Ann Mize is the only one that's still here. So, it's,
So that's, I think, where we come in providing some of these services to the component school districts. Where can we lend that continuity in the services we have?
Yes.
And I think that's a valuable thing for us to keep in mind.
we have
with our
virtually no
surveys.
turnover at the ESD.
Which is amazing, actually.
As valuable as like a dating website, I think that keeps some of the people, just about. Not to be in conflict with the sexual harassment.
We'll go back to
Yeah.
goals and we'll see what we can do on the
Yeah,
website.
that's
Anything else that we have on board reports?
That's it.
Mr. Keano?
Paisley started school, I think we have about 71 kids. We have full dorm, 20, and full online school with almost 200 people on the wait list.
Wow.
You know,
Which is
have they ever
crazy.
done
Wow.
kind of an expose, I think that might be the right word, for like who the students are, where they come from, what the story is?
Actually, I think they have some very good records. Paisley, you could talk to them what the reasons are.
No, I'd like to see it in the paper. That would be
It's
interesting.
interesting, everything is a
Yeah.
little bit of a
Yeah.
different story.
What brings the kids here?
And it's amazing,
How
we
many
have a
countries
lot
are
of,
represented?
as far as the dorm,
Yeah.
just, I think a lot of these kids or the parents especially are looking for the smaller, slower lifestyle, smaller class sizes. And that being said, some of the kids don't understand what they're getting into, and they start, coming from Redmond, oh, Ben's okay, and then they turn on Highway 31 and go, oh my God, what have we done? And we've lost a couple already that just, it's not their deal, And a lot of times mom and dad, or grandma and grandpa put them here, and they're going, I want to feed her, so.
Those are great numbers, though, 71 students.
Yeah, they've done a lot. school district, actually.
That's
You
good.
win.
And we were hoping a little higher, but.
What is the complete upgrade on the school, just like curious?
Just actually, we are doing the sides of the building,
Mhm.
the main building, then we're redoing the gym, new roof, windows and all that sort of stuff.
I know, yeah, driving by, it looked great.
It's gonna be
Excellent. Okay. Last thing. All quiet, but you're ready for roundup.
Getting.
You already saw some blood when she was biting your tongue.
Already been to the bombs today.
Very good. Cool. Mr. Griffin?
Stopped by the ESD today on unrelated business, but the typical before the opening of school hectic activity.
Chaos.
Kind of, yeah, brought back memories.
Did you run screaming, or did you sit in the corner and stir the
Almost,
pot?
I just sat in the corner and quivered a little bit.
Thought you just stirred the pot.
But I don't miss getting kids ready for school. When I go and see people shopping and that school supply list gets out, which used to irritate me every year.
I didn't want to say it.
You bought them last year, was it?
To be
Before again?
honest,
I said, if
I
you show
didn't
me
miss that
a connection between.
beginning hectic activity.
Yeah.
I kind of like being retired.
All right, so that covers board reports. Let's move right into financial reports. We have, I think it migrated to your end, Dale. We've got our summary on the check register, and then we've got the detail on the budget there also, with sort of where we are this year to date, 1 month into the new fiscal year. Sarah, do you have anything you would like to knowledge to impart upon us?
Well, we're gonna have plenty of financial talk later on in the board meeting, so I'm gonna keep it short. But, on the yellow page where it says we paid $22,000 less in audit services, we will be paying that amount in September. Last year we paid it in July, this year we're gonna pay it in September.
Why is that?
The audits are later this year.
Yeah.
Who's that?
They're later. The
Oh, they're
audits are
later,
early.
okay.
Okay.
Dale, don't disappoint me.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
Okay, so with that, let's jump right into the superintendent report, Mr. Now.
Oh boy, here we go.
Time's up. Now, as we're,
Pretty good, like I said, lots going on these days. John noticed it when he walked in the door today. Lots happening. We are, on October 17th, we will be going to Burns with representatives of all of the school districts in the county for a regional peer review panel training. This is to review everybody's teacher evaluation process and fine tune them. There have been a number of changes, just in fact, even yesterday, there was a change that came down from ODE on how we are to be evaluating teachers this year, how much the student test scores should count in their evaluations, all of those good things. There's a lot happening there. Marcia Nichols will be assisting me in that, and then, like I say, the districts will be involved, both administrators and hopefully teachers as well. One thing that you might hear about is there's been kind of a problem here in the state of Oregon. As you probably know, this will be the first year that we're using Smarter Balance instead of OAKS for our student assessment, our statewide assessment. The state legislature appropriated funds for formative and interim assessments to support Smarter Balance. And by formative and interim assessments, we mean the tests that kids could take during the school year to tell the teacher how well they're progressing towards meeting the goals at the end of the year and how effective the teacher's instruction is. The state legislature, though, required that the money go straight to the school districts and that each school district would be responsible for negotiating their own agreement for formative and interim assessments. Everybody, of course, wants to use Smarter Balance because there's no point in using other assessments when it's the Smarter Balance one that's going to count for kids at the end of the year. Smarter Balance has a corporate policy that they will only sign one contract per state. The legislature said every district has to. Okay, so bottom line here is that the Oregon Association of ESDs is working diligently to come up with one statewide. ODE can't do it, but the OAESD will do it, and probably the next month will be, the ESDs will be really instrumental in supplying
You say
this.
can't, not capable, can't, not allowed.
Illegal, can't, not allowed, yes,
Okay.
yes, not allowed. The legislature thought that they were doing something to provide local control, when in fact what they were really doing was
Just
creating
gave it away.
a hurdle that was insurmountable, and the districts really want these things, so. A good role for the ESDs to be playing.
Yeah.
ESD funding and legislation. As I mentioned earlier, I'm on both the legislative, I volunteered for the funding committee, I just sort of got put on the legislative committee. This is the latest draft of the OAESD legislative platform, which I thought you would probably be interested in. Just says OAESD supports increased student achievement and success through a seamless P through 20 education system. And it is, boy, I'll tell you, the one of the big ahas for me in the last year is that, and I think John as well, is that the ESD now, we are involved in preschool through 20. It's K through 12, it's kind of getting to be an antiquated concept. That everything, even though we are still funded K through 12, we have a lot of demands placed on us in terms of seamlessly merging preschool, early childhood education, K through 12, and then on up into college. Supporting the 40-40-20 goal, of course that's the governor's goal of by 2025, 40% of high school graduates will go on to four-year college, 40 will go into two-year college, and the remaining 20 will graduate from high school ready to go into the workforce. Educator effectiveness, which is teacher evaluation, professional growth, high-quality special education delivery systems, and efficient technology platforms delivered through collaborative regional approaches. Therefore, OAESD supports creating efficiencies and direct more resources to the classroom, partnering with ODE and OEIB. OEIB, of course, is the Oregon Educational Investment Board, which is really kind of, it's a little bit of a shadow organization to ODE, but it's the one that's really supposed to set the agenda. They don't have a very big budget, but they're the ones that are, when we're talking about goals and initiatives, they're the ones that are really setting that. Nancy Golding is their director. That was what Rudy Crew formerly was in charge of. Ensuring the delivery of special education services to our most vulnerable student populations, resulting from the best use of best practice, strong student achievement in an equitable and cost-effective manner, closing the achievement gap, increasing student safety, assisting school districts with the implementation of the Common Core standards, the OEIB and ODE initiative process to be ready to be included in all future Oregon school initiatives, using available local and state resources to deliver outcomes expected by OEIB, ODE, and their local districts, maintaining the 4.5% state funding level from the State School Support Fund for ESDs. The big one, second bullet from the bottom of that first section, updating and indexing the funding for Grant, Harney, Lake, North Central, and Wallowa ESDs. Now, there's nothing further to report since our June meeting, but they're still tinkering around with trying to come up with what to initially ask for, what kind of an increase for the 5 small ESDs, and then indexing that to the state school support. So we won't end up in this place in the future. That if the state school support fund goes up 3%, then the small ESD funding goes up 3%. That if the state school support fund goes down 3%, our funding goes down 3%, but our funding still maintains that $1 million floor that we would not go below. By indexing it, we're getting support from the large ESDs that at times have been resistant to increased funding for the small ESDs. Reason being, we get about double per student what high desert or southern Oregon ESD gets. And so there's a little bit of a jealousy factor there. But as John Rexford, the superintendent of High Desert ESD, has told me directly, Bob, I would not want to try to serve the students of Lake County for what I get. He goes, I wouldn't want to do it either for what he gets per ADM. The other thing is, there's absolutely no talk, none whatsoever, of merging ESDs or consolidating ESD functions.
Wow, that's the first time.
That's a
in-
change.
That's a first.
Can I ask you a question about the 40-40-20?
Mhm.
So is it 40% will start college, 40% will get a bachelor's degree?
Get a
40%.
bachelor's degree. Yeah, 40% will
What
get
is
a
it right
bachelor's.
now?
About 20%. It's about half. And of course, the other thing that's part of this is that every student will graduate from high school. There will be no dropouts. Pretty lofty.
Does GED count as a high school?
No,
education? No,
the governor would like to stamp out, well, that may be a little bit harsh, but the governor would like to see every student succeed in high school. That is the marching orders that he has given OEIB, ODE, and all of us.
Well, you have to have goals to reach for. Gotta set a bar somewhere.
The final report, or the final bullet on the first section there, restoring funding to grants and aid programs, including early childhood intervention, education, regional programs, increased kindergarten readiness, equitable literacy outcome. Right now, the grants and aid have pretty much been replaced by competitive grants. And there's, as you can imagine, it's not, but this is true last year, I think you heard me say this, a lot of the funding streams were based on competitive grants. And the OAESD would very much like to see the state move away from that, and if things are important, please fund them. And then OAESD stands with our partners, supporting OSBA's proposed legislative policies, the early learning hubs, which we'll be talking a bit more about that in a minute, innovative 9 through 14 models, in other words, trying to break down some of the barriers that students have moving from high school to college, regional achievement collaboratives. In the next couple of months, I'm going to really sink my teeth, as is Commissioner Kessner, into moving Lake County into a regional achievement collaborative. We are not part of one. I don't know the history of why that is and how that is, but we are next time there's funding for those, we are definitely going to be seeking that. Because again, this will support things like more students moving on to college, or higher kindergarten assessment scores, or, I mean, there's a variety of things that you can look at there. Efficient technology systems, that's a huge one. You know, Oregon right now is just, everybody's got their own technology system, and it's a bit of a problem. The OEIB longitudinal database, trying to collect data on all of these things. Oppose unfunded mandates, thank goodness. And then a strengthened system for regional coalitions to improve service quality and economic efficiencies. But again, not consolidation of ESDs. Okay. Item number 4, ESD grant programs, just real quick last year we thought we were just getting 1 year of funding from Chalkboard to support teacher evaluation and educator improvement. I found out in the last few weeks that it looks like we will be getting support this year as well. And we've already lined up some teacher trainings and some administrative stuff through that. Sustainability and math coaching. Sustainability used to be probably the centerpiece here at the ESD in terms of literacy and support for Common Core implementation. We're down to pretty much the very nub end of that, but we do have math coaches around the county that we'll be working with. Our teacher mentoring grant is in year 2. Marcia Nichols is doing a really good job with that. As I already mentioned, our PLT, our professional learning teams and rural grants, where the districts have pooled those monies and are really doing a good job on providing professional development opportunities for their teachers. RTI, or special education grant, the big thing there is that last year we had every one of the 5 school districts in Lake County get on the RTI grant and get support. And so we're putting them in similar trainings. In fact, Marcia and I put one on last Wednesday for teachers. We're all on the same basis in terms of RTI, which I think is very good. And then I have it again, response to intervention. I hadn't noticed that. And then Southern Oregon Promise, that's kind of a neat one here lately. Just found out in the last few days that the Lakeview schools will be getting several $1,000s in support for AVID, which is a curriculum to build college-going culture, starting actually down in the 5th and 6th grade to really get kids excited about going to college. It actually may not be implemented that low this year, but certainly at the middle school here. And then the other thing that I just found out is that we're using the Southern Oregon Promise grant to support instructor approval in Paisley. And that Paisley actually has already gotten their math and English teachers approved to teach college courses through KCC this year. So
Cool.
things are moving right
That's
along.
great.
North Lake, with the late hire of their math teacher there, I'm not exactly sure where we are there in terms of dual credit. Dave and I will be talking about that. The Early Learning Hub, just to refresh your memory, Lake County is in a hub with Douglas County. And actually, just in the last month or so, Klamath County has gotten approval to join our hub as well. Our main focus here at the ESD has been in terms of 2 grants, an early literacy grant and a kindergarten innovation grant. We've actually hired Megan Hennigan, you might remember her as Megan Wright, our itinerant special ed teacher, to basically to focus on implementing those grants in the southern part of the county to bring the literacy and kindergarten stuff down here. And then Deb Dement up at North Lake to do the north end of the county. And they will, in the next month, they will start going to trainings and coming back and working with the preschool providers, the kindergarten teachers, etc., to implement that. In the meantime, another thing is going on with the hub. We're going to start getting very serious about hiring another half-time position to help work with at-risk families and also to help administer the hub. Because right now, those of us that are doing it, which is mainly Vicki Taylor, myself, Ken Kestner, Amy Hutchinson, we need help. We need somebody to kick us in the butt and keep us on task with this. So
Is this more of the governor's idea, the hubs?
Totally, yes. This replaces the Commission on Children and Families.
Which
And it,
it just seems it's taking one, I mean, all depending, bureaucracy, whether it was effective or not, it's a whole other discussion, with another bureaucracy. I don't get it.
well, and actually, Jeanette, I would take it a step farther. It's replacing one bureaucracy, the CCF, with a really undefined, kind of a coalition. Because like I say, we have, in our community governance council, we have, I believe it's like 12 or 14 representatives. You know, your agency's represented, the county, and mental health, and there's a lot of partners, but there is no bureaucracy, there is no defined structure to it. And so that's why
Is there
we're really,
defined purpose?
we are really hoping to get this other half-time position hired, so we have the semblance of somebody with you know, that's really focused on this, because there's going to be more stuff coming down. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm involved with the literacy and the kindergarten piece because they are so closely related to our primary mission here. I am hoping that at our next meeting on September 16th, that we move forward with the family resource manager, and I hope that the county or somebody else steps forward and says, yes, we will take the lead on that one. Bob's taking the lead on the kindergarten and the literacy. Because we're fine again with having Megan do the educational piece, but when it comes to some of the other stuff, the family outreach and the organization of the hub, that's, I think, that's something that really is not in our area of
No, and that's
skills.
somebody with a lot of experience in different kinds of dynamics.
So we are hoping that DHS or somebody steps up.
We're busy, Bob. Yeah.
So-
Well, there might be some ideas on who could take that,
Yeah, and that's, We already mentioned internet connectivity, we're still working, you know, and again, there's nothing concrete. I think there's some rumors out there, but all I can say is, we're just having conversations, we're trying to encourage. We did get, in the early part of the summer, we got a number of letters of support from agencies, businesses, community members, the Paisley mayor, you know, to try to move the process forward. At that time, we were really focused on the USDA grant process. Now it's more morphed into this rural electrification funding stream. But we're hoping, because I'll tell you guys, Dale's probably aware of this. About 2 weeks ago, CenturyLink made a technological change on one or both ends of the T1 lines that go into Paisley.
Surprise.
And it virtually shut Paisley's internet down.
No response from CenturyLink?
Oh yes, these were things that had to be replaced because they no longer had the parts to replace the antiquated infrastructure, so they were upgrading it, but because of the upgrade, it slowed the system back down to even worse than it was
How does
previously.
that affect their foreign languages and whatnot?
It's
Well, I think everything's up and going now,
Oh.
is what I understand. But it was kind of a surprise, and CenturyLink said, "We told you so." We're kind of going,
remember that email that we
Yeah,
sent?
that 4
It went in your
months ago.
spam folder?
Yeah. 2 weeks before school
Either that or
starts.
it's so slow, we haven't got the yet.
possibility.
Wow, spooky.
So we'll keep working that one, but don't get your hopes up that there's gonna be any, you're gonna see the backhoes digging the fiber into Paisley anytime soon. But and then finally, our two new faces, Ellen Jacobs, who's our new part-time North Lake speech person, was down here for in-service the last couple of days. We're really glad to have Ellen on board. Ellen has been providing that service to North Lake, but as a contract employee, and there's been, it has not been an ideal situation. Now that she is our part-time employee and she's actually no longer working for High Desert ESD, I think we'll see some really dependable service for North Lake. And then finally, Linda Billiou, she's our county library consultant. We hired her last spring. She hit the ground running. I think she had met with virtually all of the library aides throughout the county before school was even out this year. She was actually down in the county again today. She's bringing somebody from the state librarian's office. They're working very hard to upgrade librarian skills and student access to information throughout the county. And she is just a ball of fire.
Who's she from?
Ben, she's a retired librarian from the Bay High School District. So, any questions?
So what are you gonna do in the afternoons for the next month? It looks like you got your mornings busy.
Yeah.
Good stuff, thank you, Bob. Okay, information and discussion items. I have a number of things here that I would just, again, caution, let's have as thorough discussion as we need on any topic, but maybe let's refine our focus on those that have financial or organizational impact if we're gonna really get into the in-depth discussions. First up, classified employee hire. Like Lynette Wells.
Yep, we've had a little turnover in our youth mentor program. Lynette Wills, and we wish Lynette the best. She got, I think, the job of her dreams, which is to teach at State Line School in Pine Creek. And so we are recommending, pending her background check, that we hire Sammy Withers, who was a Lakeview High School graduate, to replace Lynette.
I'm curious, contingent on background check, how long does that take typically?
We get the drug test back within days, but the ODE background check takes longer. Weeks, a week or two. I don't have it back yet.
Just point of curiosity.
Mhm.
Okay. And then, gosh, 4.2 OA ESD Governance Council Representative. First, Vicki made the mistake of not being here tonight.
That was the easiest
the
decision.
motion.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yes.
But I would say that most certainly, I think she's done a good job with her understanding of the process. And if she's willing to continue to participate,
Willingness has nothing to do with
with one caveat that Director Griffin might not like, but, you know, last year, whenever Vicky couldn't participate, and, you know, Vicky's in Klamath a lot and out of town, I asked John to step in, and so John sat in on, I don't know, what, 3 or 4 of the couple of the governance meetings, and I very much appreciated John doing that, and I would just like to be able to continue to do that if Vicky's unavailable, unless one of you would like to volunteer to sit through those wonderful meetings.
Oh, John's done a good job too.
No.
see, right there, I think was him
I thought you
raising
said
his
they were
hand.
too early in the morning or something, you had to get out of bed early.
What was
it like
that?
2 o'clock?
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah, I do have to get up earlier.
How early?
For the meetings, I would actually have to get up at the insane hour, like 7 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
That's barbaric.
I'm kidding.
That is absolutely barbaric.
No.
We have confidence in your ability, however.
You'll be able to take a nap in the afternoon.
Now, is this something, I see it's noted the board should decide if, is this something by consensus, or is this something that requires a motion? Do we need to actually appoint her, somebody in some
I
capacity?
don't believe it takes a
Okay,
fourth board vote.
okay. OSBA Fall Regional Meeting, looks like will be Tuesday, October 7th at the Basic Community Center. So that would be good, another informative meeting, I'm sure. It'd be good for us to educate ourselves with what we can and come with questions. Boiler replacement bids.
Oh boy, here we go. Our boiler is kaput. We have no heat.
When we say boiler, I'm curious, is this a gas-powered or diesel-powered
Diesel.
boiler?
Heat- heating
Radiant,
fuel.
radiant water?
Yes, radiant water, heats the water, goes to through the radiators there in every room. So,
Which we've had issues with a couple of years ago with some frozen pipes.
yes, oh yes. So, hand those out.
These are just,
I believe
they're all together.
There's one
Oh, I see, one of each.
of each.
There's 3. There should be 3.
Yeah, there should be. So, a few weeks ago, we put out for bids to replace our boiler.
And you'd replace it with another boiler?
Well, maybe, not necessarily. When those get around, you should have 3 bids.
I'm sorry.
What happened was this, when we put out the specs, we got a bid from the person who currently services our boiler system, R.H. Broadmerkle. He's out of Klamath Falls. Has a long association with our heating and cooling systems here. Then we also then got a second bid, or we got a bid from Shea Robinson Heating and Cooling here in Lakeview. Okay. Shea does not do boilers. So Shea's bid was based on furnace, forced air. Okay. So then we went back and asked Mr. Broadmerkle if he would like to also, so we could have an apples to apples situation, submit a bid based on a forced air furnace as well. Is that sort of stating that correctly? So we have from Broadmerkle, we have a boiler bid, we have a hot air bid, and we have a hot air bid from Robinson.
What was the cost us a year to run the boiler?
The cost, current cost per year?
Yeah. That's with diesel using kerosene.
Yeah, using the regular oil. I wanna say it's around $4,000 in oil, plus whatever maintenance.
For the-
And so this is actually going to be electrical, right? This is electric.
No, this is
Propane.
This is
propane.
propane.
I guess I'm wondering what's most efficient.
The forced air. So we'll get in, we'll get there. Well, we can do that right now. We had a long conversation the other day with Mr. Broadmerkle. We tried to contact Shay Robinson as well, but have not been able to get in contact with him. Mr. Broadmerkle started by saying, you know, that he would not make a recommendation one way or the other. However, he would go through the pros and cons. And when he got through the pros and cons, it was very clear to us that he certainly, even though he services our boiler and he put in a boiler bid, it was very clear to us that the pros and cons favored the forced air, the propane forced air. And I'll go through some of the reasons that I have jotted down, and then I'll let Sarah and Debbie fill in around the edges. The first one, the big one right out of the box, Mr. Broadmerkle estimates that we will have about $800 less per year in fuel costs with the propane forced air than we would with the boiler. So that's substantial.
And would the propane be provided by stops or?
Yes, we'd be looking initially at having 2 tanks out here, and the reason for that is if we have 1 tank, there's pretty drastic restrictions on where it would have to be located and distance from buildings, and by going with 2 tanks, we can have them in a much more convenient location. Okay. The furnaces, both Robinson and Broadmerkle, the furnaces there'd actually be 3 zone furnaces up in the ceiling. Also, they would then remove all of the water pipes, so we wouldn't have, they would drain them. We wouldn't have to worry about broken pipes. And then of course we could, if we want, at a later date, we could remove the radiators from the baseboards as well, but that's not initially included. In speaking with him, it seemed like I think the other major advantage is that when we have an air conditioning system that's very similar to this forced air system, and he would actually piggyback the forced air heating system with the air conditioning system, upgrade the system, upgrade the vents. And again, while he's not necessarily making a recommendation, when we got all done with this discussion, it just seemed like the pros were heavily on the side of the forced air. Okay. So let's, any other?
The only other thing was with there being 3 furnaces, if one of them goes out, you still have heat in part of your building. Whereas if your boiler breaks, you're done for,
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the ductwork comes in from the ceiling, I assume.
Has he been attentive and?
very.
If you did go with forced air, will they remove the boiler?
Yes, all the bids include removal of the current boiler system. Yeah.
I sure do.
So one of the 2 Broadmerkle bids is the boiler bid,
He was supposed to be at my house 3
and
weeks ago.
Mr. Broadmerkle was supposed to be your house 3 weeks
No,
ago?
Robinson, I can't get a hold of him.
Oh,
He's supposed to
okay.
be there, and he's never called back and hasn't showed up to move the dirt.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's an issue, I don't know what it is, I had experience.
We've had no,
It was,
he was Johnny on the spot,
I know he's-
turning in the bid.
I know he's swamped, I know that.
Well, I think that as we go through this, some questions will need to be asked about what is our expectation? Are we strictly looking for low bid, or are there other things in process? And I think that should be part of the discussion once we've had this
Yeah.
summary.
Okay, so just, I think to cut to the bottom line here, one of the Broadmerkle bids is for the Frontier oil-fired boiler. And you can see there, total job cost, $12,350. The other Broadmerkle bid is for the Rude. One other thing I wanted to say about the forced air system. The forced air system would be compatible. It starts at propane, but it would be compatible with natural gas down the road. And of course, there's a lot of talk about Lakeview at some point having access to natural gas. Mr. Broadmerkle is very confident that it's going to happen in the near future. I don't know if that's overly optimistic or not.
that would be
It is.
fantastic. Are you optimistic?
It's overly optimistic. there has to be a return on the investment for a publicly held company to.
Do you think it's
to
too
put it.
optimistic?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be in the short term, but the focus is on
Sure, I was
this
just,
HVAC, or these forced air system, and knowing that there's some flexibility in the future to be converted to natural gas is good to know.
yeah.
The second Broad Merkle bid for the green forced air system, you can see that the price tag there is $16,779. So you're talking more for the forced air in terms of an initial outlay. But of course, keep in mind that he estimates $800 a year in fuel savings. The other thing about his bid, his bid is all inclusive. It includes all electrician's costs. It includes, he's got 5-year warranty on labor. The furnace itself has actually a limited lifetime warranty. Then if you go to Robinson's again is it's also for a green furnace. The system, at least from what we gather from his bid, it sounds like it's very similar in terms of the infrastructure to the Broad Merkle bid. It's a little bit cheaper. It's $13,975, but he does not include electrician's expenses. And his labor is warranted for 1 year rather than 5 years.
Well, there's, yeah.
But, yeah, he has 5-year parts from the.
5-year parts and labor, same as Broad Merkle on that, yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I see different between the two bids is while they're both a ream furnace, a ream forced air system, I see Broad Merkle is specific about integrating it with the air conditioning. And I don't see Robinson specific that it's integrated.
Two of the questions we had for Shay were what level of integration. And actually, when I talk about integration, one of the things that Mr. Broad Merkle is including in this is actually replacing coils and really upgrading the AC system. He feels very strongly that the whole thing needs to be upgraded. We don't know if Shay was including that same kind of AC upgrades in his. The other thing is, we don't know exactly what, how much the electrician expenses would add to Shay's bill.
I guess we better find that out before we do anything. My question is that if he is this price and he's local, how is that gonna look that we went this much more non-local? I'm just, what I'm saying. So I wonder about how much electrician is gonna be in the adaptability of the other units, I think. But we need to know soon, because.
Yeah, we have to move forward on this.
Yeah, and I think it goes to reliability, and reliability starts with that initial contact. If someone is running a professional business and a message is left and they don't call back, that's a problem.
How many times have you guys called him and they haven't called back?
That's a problem.
How long ago?
I called yesterday asking him to call us today before the board meeting. I told him there was a board meeting tonight, that we needed that extra information. And that was a message left yesterday.
Not good if there would have been an emergency.
So I have a question, a procedural question that I'm not familiar with in this public body. I'm very familiar with in the public body I used to work for at the county. But in this public body, A, do we have contract rules? I mean, do we have established contract rules that we know to look to and to follow? Because from a county perspective, for example, you have state purchasing rules that dictate when something goes to bid, when it doesn't, and local rules determine dollar thresholds with which you solicit quotes and have them on hand and blah, 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 blah. There's a perception that if you put something out to bid and you receive quotes, you're obligated to go with the lowest quote, and that isn't so. And that's easily defended when you have a request for proposals that goes out that outlines your expectation. that outlines what the unit of measure will be to award work to someone. So the question, I mean, do we have specific contract rules that we're required to run under?
Yeah, we do, not for this amount of money though. Our legal requirements are on a much larger dollar
Like a
amount.
capital project,
Yeah.
a $75,000 capital project.
Right, we were supposed to go out and solicit at least 3 bids. We contacted 4 different vendors, 2 of whom responded. In our bid, we did say what our criteria was for the bid. There were, I wanna say 4 factors, price being one of them. Efficiency of the system being another one, and I can't remember the other 2. I can go find out right now.
So you did solicit from 4,
Mhm.
2 have responded, so that satisfies that first litmus test of, well, these are the only 2 people that you talked to.
Right, right.
And then the request was not just, gee, tell us what we need, but rather you had some criteria that you were looking
Yes.
for. Okay, that's what I always worry about in terms of that litmus test of what if we didn't go local, or what if we didn't go low bid? There are other factors involved.
Well, to me, I guess too, if you put a call in, it's pretty urgent, and the call isn't made back.
That's, you know, we have a very good relationship with Mr. Broadmark. He has been very supportive of our needs in the past, and we are also extremely satisfied with the quality of his work. That figures strongly in our thinking of
He's
this
attentive.
situation. Yeah.
Then are the tanks, on the Robinson one, it says that the press does not include the propane tank or setup. That will be done by Staub and
Yeah.
so this one isn't included?
No, we would have to either purchase or lease tanks, and Sarah can talk about that.
How much they said the lease was?
Which would you-
$50 each per year, so it'd be $100 a year to lease tanks.
And what does it cost now? I don't know.
They'll get back to us tomorrow morning with a specific figure, but a very rough ballpark was $800 to $900 per tank.
So by 9 years from now,
Yeah. Paid
natural
bond.
gas will be.
What do you think? What do you think? What would be your choice?
Well, I certainly lean towards the forced air system from Mr. Broadmark. Yeah. I mean, I wish we could have gotten a hold of Shay. I certainly would like to go as local as possible, but you know, you balance that against our history with Broadmark. It's been he has just been really on top of things for us. He's very familiar with our system. He's you know, like I say, his bid is inclusive. He is very, we had a long talk with him in terms of pros and cons, and he's very familiar. He knows exactly what he's getting into here. Whereas, you know, with Shay, you know, Shay does not have the experience here. Did he come and look
He did.
upstairs?
He did.
He has taken a look at it, but he doesn't have the familiarity with some of our issues in our current system that Ron Merkel does.
One of the things that's important to debate as thoroughly or as little as you feel appropriate as a board is number one, if it fits purchasing rules, contract rules that we have, that's one component. Number two is if there were requirements on what the unit of measure would be for award. If a request for bids was simply, we want to know the lowest bid, you're obligated to go with lowest bid. The third component is going to be, what is the sense of urgency? The reality is, as funny as it sounds, being 90 degrees today,
Pretty urgent.
there's a matter of urgency, because if you step back and go through a greater formalized, advertised request for proposal process that this dollar amount doesn't require, you know, you're looking at a November, December installation, and that's not practical. It just isn't.
When did they think they could install either one of them, or have they even said?
That we've talked about it. Oh, Sarah just left.
There needs to be some commitment there.
Yes, we've talked about it with Mr. Broadmark, and I believe, you know, if he found out, if we were to go with his bid, that he felt confident he could have it in within about 30 days.
Oh, okay.
And the other folks, you don't know because they never called you
I
back.
don't know.
I think the discussion stops right there.
Yeah. I will move, we go with Rod Merkel, the
Yeah, I'd like to.
forester.
A second.
We have a motion on the table to go with the quote with R.H. Broad Merkel Enterprises for the gas HVAC system revisions in the amount of $16,779. And we have a second. Before we vote, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I think not responding sums it up, so something we need to act on right away.
And I'll lend some support. I've worked with both of these businesses in their professional capacity. R.H. Broadmerkle has pretty deep roots in Lakeview and the Goose Lake Valley for a number of years in both businesses and private. So they're very well invested in the community and very responsive. And I think from a service perspective, from the thoroughness of the proposal, because it defines what is or is not provided, right down to building permits, removal, and costs of garbage and whatnot that the other does not. I just want to throw that out there. There's a very clear distinction in the written proposals, regardless of anything else, what's been proposed. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
We will let Mr. Broad-Merkle know first thing in the morning.
Sure. He's back.
Work saving.
I guess one other thing to throw out there is sort of a piece of discussion. Is there a desire on the board to establish a timeline, or do we just leave it open-ended? Do we say we'll award this if they can have it in and functional by October 1? Or, I mean, do we-
We had a date,
Yeah.
September 30th, that was
Yeah.
the
Okay.
bid process.
But so that was a requested requirement already, so we're assuming based on this quote that that's what they're,
They
Because we don't know-
verbally confirmed that.
okay.
We
'Cause
asked.
I'm asking because we don't know what the request was and what the
Yes.
requirements were as opposed to what was proposed, so
Right.
it's good to make sure that
Sure.
there's clarity, so there's no confusion later.
Sounds like you did a really good job
So, cool.
following all those rules.
Good, so now we move right on to ESD auto purchase.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Here we
does
go.
this bring up some-
Because it's interesting, we never asked if there was money for the boiler, so it's not fair to ask if there's money for a car.
Let's,
You have it both ways. You can get hot or you
Well,
can
they're
warm.
gonna put top wheels on the old boiler.
it's a tank.
I think it could be retrofit, save a little money.
Sarah, why don't you talk just a little bit about the maintenance fund
For the car,
for the boiler?
or for the boiler?
Yeah, for-
So the boiler's coming out of our construction fund. It will have $39,000 in it this year. So even with this project, it will leave a good balance for future projects. The car comes out of a completely separate fund, the ESD auto fund, which currently has $13,000 in it.
Any choices?
For cars or?
Yeah.
No, we're just asking for permission to look.
Yeah. Here we go. As you guys know, we have two vehicles. We have a 2007 or 2008 Subaru Legacy.
2008.
8, okay. It has 131,000 miles on it. It's our newer car. We put 28,000 miles on it last year. Okay, so that means that if we were to put 28,000 on it again this year, that vehicle would have 160,000 on it.
It's a Subaru, come on. 300,000, man. No problem.
Speaking of 300,000,
Okay, it's coming.
our older car, which is a 2000 Legacy, Subaru Legacy, has a little over 273,000 miles on it, and we put 13,000 miles on it last year. It is starting to really show its age, yes, because it's approaching Dale's limit of 300,000 very quickly. If we put another 13,000, it'll be at to almost 290,000 by the end of this year. So, we have right now in our auto fund $13,000. We also got very good news here a few weeks ago from Collins McDonald. I believe I probably told the board this last year that I made two $6,000 requests, one to Collins McDonald and another one to the Research Foundation. Collins McDonald approved our request in June at their Collins McDonald meeting. So we now have the $13,000 in our auto fund, plus we have $6,000, so we have about $19,000. The Research, I've been in contact with Mari Jo Prolane at Research Foundation. They're very happy to hear that we have basically 75% of our funding now. They will let us know by December 1st whether or not we get the funding. Don't know if we're going to or not on that. It's just hard to say. We did get a $12,000 technology grant from Research last year. I don't believe that diminishes our chances on the auto by any stretch. We also, another fact to consider is that throughout this year, the various programs, as they use the vehicles, will be paying into the auto fund. And so we have $13,000 now, but certainly throughout the year that fund will grow.
So if we did decide to go up to 25,000 and get additional funding, we'd take the other 5 out of contingency, or do we have that?
I think we'd wait till we know on the Research grant
till December.
before
I
we
think
make a
we would
purchase.
wait on the Research grant, and then if we didn't, yes, then we would probably do that with the thought being that it would be being paid in to the auto fund during the year.
I see why automatic transmission is not everybody can drive a stick. Is that the issue?
They even make a manual transmission.
You may not be able to.
In Subarus, they still make a manual, but
Yeah,
boy,
really?
I'll bet if we were to quiz our I'll bet the vast majority of our employees wouldn't know what a clutch is.
How many people here know how to drive a clutch? Yeah.
Yeah, but I've been around a lot of people
But-
that said they know how, but
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't let them on my
And-
pickup.
Exactly, and how many transmissions will we have to
And I think too,
replace?
the maintenance, the long-term maintenance really is much better with an automatic. Even though automatics, when they break, we know they're just hideously expensive, but particularly with clutches and gears, there's a lot that can go wrong, particularly if they're people who are not very good at driving them.
And you can panic, you
Yeah.
can panic, it's hard to go back.
And
And the automatic is gonna
Yeah.
be safer
Yeah.
for bad weather driving, particularly if people aren't familiar with a standard transmission. Because you're
Transmission
familiar.
going down a
Big-
snowy
big-
hill.
big-
Oh,
Because
yeah,
you're
yeah.
familiar.
Yeah.
Because at the county level, we banished,
Yeah.
won't say banished, we opted not to do any standard transmissions in the fleet. Road
Hmm.
department, that's different, but not at.
Their road department has different applications.
That's correct, that's correct, for ease of use and safety.
Are you gonna go ahead and put this out there? Or are you gonna wait until we actually?
Well, pending, if the board would approve, we would probably put it out right away.
I would
Yes.
agree with it.
Yeah,
Start shopping.
At the upper end, for $25,000, we're looking at a very low mileage program car.
Or a brand new vehicle.
In a legacy, you might be looking at a brand new car. Now, the other thing is, we would also like to consider getting a small SUV. There are times when, particularly if we're going to trainings, and if it's like an overnight situation, or we're taking, supplies somewhere, the Subarus are awful tight. And so we'd really like to be able to have the freedom to look at something slightly larger, but still something extremely fuel efficient. We're not talking a Suburban, we're talking a small SUV type.
No Volkswagen Jettas or anything.
I don't know if you can get
If they were all-wheel drive,
Yeah.
perhaps.
I have something sailing right now.
And I think, certainly, Subaru is not a requirement, but certainly I think that, the employees are used to Subaru products. I think there's something to be said for continuity and knowing where things are and how they drive. Certainly, we're open to other things, but Subaru all-wheel drive is extremely hard to beat.
Plus you're gonna get almost 300,000 miles.
They go 300,000, that's right.
A suggestion
Shouldn't it?
might be and again, I'm a little biased because I've been through this at the county level, on the county fleet, and numerous discussions of what ifs and how to's and wherefores. And that is, you can get a new SUV type vehicle for $25,000 or less. And you can get a new SUV type vehicle, sometimes with amenities and upgrades you wouldn't normally have looked for, because by going out and doing the search the way dealers can do, find some pretty good deals. The last year's model is still new, but they're blowing them out because they're wanting the new year. So in the fall, this is a good time for that
Now,
very
is there-
That's
service.
one of the reasons, even though we don't have we don't have the research grant tied up yet, but that's one reason I think it'd be important to move at this point, because this is the time when, you know, the model year changes and you can certainly find some better deals.
Right, so some experience I have that may or may not be useful in this instance is that you don't put out, you want a particular type of vehicle. You put out your specs of what you want, very similar to what you have here. You're looking for certain mileage, performance, all-wheel drive, ease of passenger access, etc. And from the state purchasing pool, which is not managed the way it used to be. It used to be a big contract that would go out and somebody in the state would win the contract and everybody in the state bought all their vehicles from them for a fixed price. Well, now it's a more competitive rate. And from a county perspective, there has been some good success with the local dealer who got things at the state purchasing price plus the cost of getting it to Lakeview, a flat $500 for a brand new vehicle, brand new warranty, brand new everything. And when it wasn't, I'll need it right now, a particular fleet vehicle, sometimes it was searched, maybe it came out of Salt Lake City, or one came out of San Diego, it was brand new off the dealer lot, full dealer warranty for a pretty good price. So it's a consideration when we put this out, not to get hung up just on what we've always had, but what is it that we need and what fits the budget. And you might be pleasantly surprised to see there's some options out there, including the Subaru product, and what the local maintenance and warranty work can be on a new vehicle. Where a new or newer Subaru, you don't necessarily have the local
Where do you get
warranty
this
work
work?
done at the same rate as it would be a dealership. So the considerations in putting it out, I think, are worthy of thought. And just using an example, again, just because I'm biased and have experience with it, at the county, the Ford Escape, I've been nothing but impressed with. I'm calling out long legs, super comfortable, back seat, super comfortable in and out, good cargo, getting 27 to 32 miles a gallon. The little Ford Escape, as an example, brand new, with a
Brand new.
V6, and just they've been awesome. And with the use that the pool vehicles get at the county that aren't the same drivers all the time, they really get driven, and the maintenance has really been minimal. So just, I think it's worth consideration. We want to be frugal and we want to be smart with our money, but, you know, if you're talking a $3,000 or $4,000 difference in buying something used off a lot and hoping for the best because it's something we're familiar with, or for the same price or a couple $1,000s more, having something brand new with all the dealer warranty and everything that goes with it, it's really worth asking for that feedback in those quotes. I'll shut up now.
Now, if you get a deal, is this gonna have to wait till next board meeting to actually approve the purchase, or are we going to approve the purchase?
We are hoping tonight that you will approve the RFP, and that will allow us to move forward with the purchase.
Well, you're gonna put it out for a period of time, and you're gonna get some options, then you know what the money is that you're gonna need to spend or not.
If the board would like us to come back in a month, we can certainly do that. It's not,
I'll set the RFP out now.
Yeah, get it
Get it
out.
going.
sure,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but if the deal comes up, are we giving them the option to purchase? Which, I'm okay with that.
Yes, I would, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
You're the people that need to drive the car, you're the ones that need to have a reliable transportation.
And I wouldn't know if you handed me 10 of them and did it.
I do like the idea of maybe converting the old boiler.
I think it
You
would
could
work
put some solar panels on it and sail.
around town.
So what is the board's thought here? Are we saying, yes, put together an RFP, yes, float it, here's a spending limit, make it happen?
Yeah.
I don't
I'm good with that.
need to micromanage that.
Well, I ask because I come from a world of purchasing rules and process. That's why I'm asking
And
the
I come from
question.
a world of spend.
I didn't work for the state, it was the county.
Well, I wasn't sure.
But that's why I asked.
I wasn't sure on the process, whether that somewhat handcuffed them if a good deal came up. And, you know, but I trust their judgment.
Also, it hasn't come up, but our plan is to actually keep the oldest Subaru, use it pretty much Union, maybe some Plush, maybe very Paisley, very short, very not North Lake.
So you have 3
Not some-
cars in the fleet then?
Yeah, and to keep that, because right now it has virtually no resale, and I think we just run it until
Till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Well, I'll motion that we proceed with the RFP and purchase
I will
of a new
second.
vehicle.
That's pretty open-ended. Do you wish to
And-
allow staff to issue a request for proposals with a spending limit, an up to amount?
I think that was pretty much specified.
Wasn't in the RFP.
Well, is this the RFP? We're saying, well, we have legacies, so what can you do to make it
Oh.
look like that? I mean, is this the RFP? This is why I'm asking. I don't mean to be a turkey, it's just,
Oh, well, I
the
would
process can be important.
That pretty much is the guidelines.
So features and bidding are essentially your RFP,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay?
And I'm open to suggestion if there's stuff that needs to be added to it, but I've left it pretty open so as not to narrow the field too much.
I think that's probably wise, and you can make that,
Yeah.
that choice when you get the. Will you be able to drive it, or do you guys usually get a chance to take it out and test drive it, or? I guess it depends on where it comes from. I guess.
It-
But if it's in Eugene or
Tuesday.
Portland dealership that's responding, no.
If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it.
It's good.
But they're not gonna deliver it unless you've bought it. They're not gonna bring some, hey, what do you think, buddy?
Not
Here,
necessarily.
we'll make you a deal, make $500 on the deal. It's usually pretty more
I
refined
think,
than that.
in terms of that question, if it's something that we're not familiar with, and particularly if it's a used product, which again, I really think if the board will support the $25,000 limit, I agree with Bob, I think we can probably find something new, if not. I would be willing, if it was, let's say it was a Ford Escape, which we're not particularly familiar with, I would
Check it out.
I would check it out, I would go test drive one, or go, if possible, go test drive the one, you know, yeah, because I don't want to, I'm a little nervous about buying something sight unseen, but I also know in my previous life with District 7, they bought a vehicle or two sight unseen as, you know, and used, and it's a leap of faith, and I would prefer to avoid that, so I would do whatever I could to go test drive, if not the car, at least that type of car, to make sure it was, you know, what, you know, satisfy our requirements.
So we have a motion on the table. And I don't want to read into the motion anything, but was the motion on the table to take the
The RF.
existing specs here
Yeah,
to put out as a request for proposals,
minus the
or
car.
request for bids, and that we're going to put an up to dollar figure on it based on this, up to $25,000, because that's what we're looking at in terms of budgetary ability, and for staff then to run with it.
Yep, permission to purchase it.
Okay,
I just don't care what kind of car it is. That's-
right, so
care
that's
what
the
color.
motion. And we have a second?
I want to be red.
Yes, yes, sir.
Is there any discussion? So motion on the table, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
What if it, you get rid
You might wanna
of
look
We
at
talked to
the,
Bob a lot, 'cause he
Fiat
seems to know what he's.
500.
I'm biting my,
Can we get like a canary yellow or something that stands out, so when I'm coming this way working, I can say, hey, I know those people.
Or you could say, hey, pick me up, my car broke down.
ESD eggshell. Okay, so with that, it takes us right into our action items at 7:45. There's already been action on both of those.
Yeah.
That's just how good you people are.
It's your leadership.
No, yeah, right, whatever. Not on the agenda, but I always ask, is there anything for the good of the order, be it staff or otherwise?
I got one. I got a new sign at the store, so don't hit it when you go
I
by.
saw that.
Okay? Don't hit it.
So we can actually say, there's the
Yes, but
sign.
don't hit it.
What's it say?
From Lake Store.
Yeah, and then you
That's
can,
pretty original,
it's
isn't it?
kinda cool though, cause we can steal the gas prices and switch them around, anybody can.
Oh,
It's been done already,
okay.
actually.
Oh, it has.
Somebody did it already. But
So-
don't hit it. That's it.
So if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion
She's
to adjourn.
389, forget
I
it.
know, how much?
I will so move, yeah.
Motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All signify, or all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay, motion carries.
So she rabbits.